Hi, I'm Mark Lassoff with another application development video. I really hope you like this one. We've got a movie logger application. This is perfect for anyone who really loves movies. It can log every movie that you see along with some additional information about that movie. If you like these application development videos, don't forget to go ahead and press the like button and also subscribe. Let's get started. I've got the application running here on my screen, and let's go ahead and put a movie in. Let's go ahead and put in the Patriot. I don't remember the year, so I'll make it up. Category action. Let's say I watched it yesterday, and I'm going to give it a personal rating of 3. We'll save it to the movie log. Let's enter one more movie. Dead Poets Society. The year was 1989. It is a drama. And let's just say, for argument's sake, I watched that Saturday. Personal rating 4. All right, so we've saved a couple movies to the log. Let's display the log. And there is The Patriot and Dead Poets Society. If I click on one, it'll go ahead and give me information about that movie that I've entered. I can delete it. Display the log again, go to a new movie. So let's go ahead and go to The Patriot. Let's delete the movie. Yes, I'm sure. And it's now not part of the movie list. Go back, we can add another movie. You get the idea. It's a pretty simple application, and we are using a couple of libraries to make our lives easier, to do the heavy lifting for us. Let's check that out. Okay, so let's bring up the code here. I'm using the Atom text editor. And first off, just so you're aware, our application's broken into 4 files. We've got the HTML, the JavaScript for our application. This one runs about 125 lines. We've got movie.js, which is where we define what a movie object is. We're going to use a movie object that includes a name of the movie, a year, a category, a date watched, and a personal rating. And a little bit of CSS. Not a whole lot because we're using the jQuery mobile library for most of the styling. So I'm just modifying that a little bit with my own CSS here. So let's start with the HTML. And let's do this. Let's put our HTML on one side and the actual app on the other so we can kind of compare. We don't need the app to be that wide. There we go. That'll work. Okay, so of course we start with our doc type declaration indicating that we're coding in HTML. Then we have our HTML opening tag and the head of our document. We're using the UTF-8 character set. And then we have the meta tag to set up the viewport for mobile applications, indicating that we're going to be displaying at 100%. We're not going to allow the pinch gesture to allow the user to scale because the maximum scale is 100%. User scalable set to no, and the device is the device width. Our title is Movie Logger on line 6, and then we load one of the style sheets for jQuery Mobile. Of course, we're loading the jQuery mobile library here from the CDN, from the Content Delivery Network. That means our application's not going to style correctly if it's not connected to the internet. So that's the downside of using the CDN to access our libraries. Okay, then I have my own movie CSS, which I showed you. Then we're loading more jQuery here. There's 2 JavaScript files. These are minified. There's the core jQuery and then the jQuery mobile library. So those are loaded. I've also loaded Cordova here. If I want to distribute this as a mobile app, I can, wrapping it with Cordova. We're not going to be going into that in this particular video, just the code. And then we've got movie.js, which is where our object is, movie.js. And then the localForage library. This is a wrapper I'm using for storage that actually makes accessing the database a lot easier. It lets me store essentially key value pairs in the database, makes life a lot easier for me as a developer. You'll see how that works. And by the way, if you want more information about localForage, you can go ahead and just do a quick Google search. And there it is on GitHub, and you'll find the instructions right here as well for installation and usage. All right, and then we have my main movie main.js that I loaded here. So all we're doing in the head is loading scripts. Now the body part of our HTML is using the jQuery page scheme. So we actually have a couple of different pages in this app. We have our create page, which you're looking at here. Then we have our master records page. That's this guy. And then we have the record detail page right here. That's the record detail page. So each one of these is a different page entity in jQuery. So one of the things that makes the jQuery library nice is you can create multi-state applications like this fairly easily. All right, so let's start with our create page. So this has the header movie log that's created by jQuery. And then we've got our content area. So this field set movie info that goes around our entire form is created by the field set tag with the legend movie info, as you can see right there. And then we've got our form. In the form, I have a label for movie name and then the input for movie name. Again, being styled by jQuery Mobile. So let's go ahead and add Gladiator. I think it was 2000. So that's the movie name. Then it asks for the year in another text box. And then we have the category dropdown. So you can see the category dropdown is done with a select tag. And then all the options here are in option tags. So when we click on it, you can see all of these options. Again, we'll stick with drama. Date watched, probably when it came out, but let's say April 1st. Give it a 4. So there's our date watched control. Our rating control. Since we're rating from 1 to 4, we used input type range. Minimum value 1, maximum value 4, and the initial value is 4. The ID is personal rating, so we can access that through the JavaScript later. Then we have our button called Save to Movie Log. Push the button, it's saved. There's the movie log. You can see Gladiators there, and there's the detail. The footer of our create page just says framework right there. All right, so display the master record. This is a different page entity. So that's this code right here. And that displays all of the movies in our log. Right now we've got 2. So again, we have a header, movies logged. Then we've got a content section. And the content section is created obviously dynamically. So what we have is some placeholders here. We have our movie, this div ID movie data. That's where this list is going. And then we have our button right here, the add movie button. And this href here means when this button is clicked, we're going to move to the create page, right? Button is clicked, we move back to the create page, which is up here, ID create. So that's how we move between pages in jQuery. Display movie log, that moves to the master page. And then our record detail, we move there. When we click on one, we go to the detail page, which you're looking at now. Header is movie details. Again, we have our content div, and we have a blank space for detail content because that's all generated right here dynamically. And then we have our buttons to move to other parts of the app. We have our create button for new movie. We have our delete button for deleting this movie. And then we have the button to go back to the master right there. So 3 separate states that we control simply with the jQuery library in our HTML. You'll notice we didn't need any JavaScript whatsoever to go between the states of our application. That's pretty cool and makes it easier on you as the developer. All right, so let's look at our movie main here. So this is where all of the action takes place. So we're going to look at each of the methods that we use in this particular app. I have a couple of global variables. First is the movies list. That's a global array that carries the list of the movie objects. Remember, a movie object has all this information: name, year, category, date watched, and personal rating. So we have an array of those. We have a key called movies, which is used for the database. And current movie is 0. That's the movie that's selected. So if we click here, that's movie 0. That's movie 1, just like in an array. If we add another movie, let's add, I can't think of a movie, The Jazz Singer. Came out in 1980, which means I'm old. Also a drama. Let's say I watched that on March 14th. Personal rating 2, save to movie log. So now that becomes movie 3. So that's what we're just using to track the state between the screens of the application, or these 3 variables. When our onload event occurs, after everything's drawn on the screen, we're going to call the init function right here. The init function gets our save button on the create screen, and it listens to that button for a click. And when that button is clicked, we call the save movie function. We also put on the delete function a delete button in action that calls the delete movie function. Now, even though that button isn't in the screen, it's still in the DOM, because we have these 3 screens drawn in jQuery, but not all of them are being displayed. So the delete movie button right there, that's still being listened to, even though we can't see it when we're looking at the movie log or we're in the create screen. Then we call config database and load movie log. So let's go to config database. Now, config database here, we're just going ahead and configuring our localForage database. It's got a driver, which is localForage web SQL, a name, movie log, a version, a size of the database in bytes, our store name, which is movie log, and a description movie log application. That's essentially setting up the localForage database. I don't know much about how it runs. I just followed the documentation in localForage and it set it up, gave me that code. All right. So after we set up the database, we're going to call load movie log. That's going to load any movies that are already in the database. So here's load movie log. We're calling localForage. We're getting the item key, which is, you'll remember, movies. Essentially telling it which database we want. And when it loads, we're running a function on what comes back. So we're going to parse what comes back from the database as JSON and store that in value. JSON essentially is a JavaScript object notation format. So it's going to take all the data in that localForage database, and it's going to create a JSON tree out of it, which is a giant JavaScript object. We can loop through that, which we'll do next. So we'll loop through the big JSON that comes back, and for each of the movies that's there, we'll create a movie object. So we'll get everything out of the JSON, the name, the year, the category, the date watched, and so on, and we'll push that object, that movie object, movies to save, onto the movie list, which you'll remember is an array of these movie objects. So everything that's in our movie log and all the information, each one of these is a separate object and gets hung onto this movie list array. So when we loading the movie log puts everything onto our movie list. We call Populate Master, and this simply catches any database errors. So let's go to Populate Master. Must be up here. Here it is. So Populate Master takes the movies list array and it loops through it and it makes an unordered list. Here you can see unordered list, data role, list view. That's making this display you see right here, this list. That's being styled by jQuery Mobile. The data role list view simply tells jQuery Mobile how to style it. The ID is movie list. So we're going to go through the array movie list. We're going to get each item out of the array. And we're going to get its name. Movies list X name. So the 0th is Dead Poets Society. We get that out of our object, get the name. And we make this list item. Each one of these is a list item being styled by jQuery Mobile. You'll notice I'm adding to the list item an onClick event, which calls the movie clicked function and passes it the index. So this will call movie clicked when I click it and pass it index 0. This will call movie clicked when I click it and pass it index 1. This will call movie clicked when I click it and get index 2. All right, so that's movie clicked. We close the unordered list. We then use the movie data element in our HTML, and we set its inner HTML to the output, which is this unordered list, and then we refresh the list view. That's a jQuery command here, just to refresh the movie list. So essentially, we're creating this big list item, and if we were to look here inside of our developer tools, and we're going to look at the elements that are part of our page, we actually can see the list in here. And right there, you see list item, list item, list item. So this is the code we were creating right here with Populate Master. When we created that code, it's being styled by jQuery. So now each one of these is here with a list item. It's got our classes to style it, but it's also got the onClick movie clicked 0, and it's hard to see, it's small, movie clicked 1 and movie clicked 2. So we're letting jQuery do the styling, and we're handling all of the logic. All right, so now once the master is populated, and we see this, essentially it's a waiting game. And we can either click the Add Movie button, which brings us back to the Create screen, or we're going to click a movie. So when a movie is clicked, the detail screen is displayed, the movie clicked function is run, and the movie index that was clicked from the array is passed to the function. We're assigning current movie the value of X. That's the index. And what we're doing now is we're taking the movie objects from the array and we're getting the information. So on the array, Dead Poets Society is index 0. So that means a 0 has been passed into movies clicked. And from the big array, we're getting current movie is 0. And then we're getting movies list 0, name, which is Dead Poets Society. Movie list 0, year, which is 1989. Movies list 0, category, and so on. All from the big array. You want to see the big array? We actually can do that. Let's go ahead and again pull up our developer tools. Not sure why I closed them the first time, because I'm just going to need them again. And so it's movies list. So let's go into our console and let's ask for movies list. M-O-V-I-E-L-I-S-T. And here you can see this is the array stored in the DOM. And you can see movies list 0 is Dead Poets Society. Movies list 1 is Gladiator. So this is what's going on behind the scenes in the browser's memory. This movies list, like I told you earlier, is a global variable that always stores all the movies in the list. Watch what happens if we add a movie. So let's go ahead and add the movie Rocky, 1976, I think. Also a drama. I guess I like dramas. Let's say I watched that on the 4th. Personal rating 4. Save that to the movie log. Display. There's Rocky. And if we were to, again, access the movies list, now there's 4 movies on here. And the last one is Rocky. So we're manipulating this array behind the scenes. I think I can close the developer tools. I'll probably need them again. So here we're getting 0 and we're getting the name. 1, 0, we're getting the year. Or whatever number it is that you clicked. If it's Rocky, it's going to be 3. So we're getting movies list 3 name, movies list 3 year from that array that I just showed you. So the array is really handy because it lets us hang the individual movie objects off of it. Remember, the movie objects contain all the information about the individual movies. We're doing a little bit of object-oriented design with this particular app. Or I should say we're kind of borrowing a concept from object-oriented design to make our lives easier as a developer. Okay, so that's how we display the detail for the movie. So let's see what else we need to deal with here. So let's go back to when we create a new movie and we save the movie log, right? So btn save calls the save movie function. So the save movie function gets past the event, which is simply the click. We have a flag called complete, which we turn to true. And then we get our name of the movie from the form, right? Document get element by ID name value. We get the year from the form. Document get element by ID year value. Store that in the variable year. We get the category, the date watched, and the personal rating. We make sure that all of these elements are filled in. If any of them are not filled in, we turn the complete flag to false. So here, essentially what we're saying is if name is not equal to blank or name is not equal to null, we turn complete to false. If year is not equal to blank or not equal to null, we turn complete to false, and so on. Now, if complete is still true, we save the movie. Else, all fields must be complete. So let's see what happens when we try and store a movie without all the information. So movie name, Casablanca. I believe that's 1942, also a drama. I've never actually watched it, so we'll lie. Say March 8th. Personal rating 4, but let's say we forgot the year, right? We want to leave one of these blank. Save the movie log. All fields must be complete. So this is how we avoid having bad data in here. So now Casablanca is part of our movie log. So that's what we're doing here. We're checking all the fields, and if there's something wrong, we're switching the complete flag, and then we're alerting the user. If everything's correct, then we'll go ahead and save. So we'll create a new movie object, right? Using the name, year, category, date watched, and personal rating. A new movie object, one of these objects. And then we'll push that onto the movie list that's in memory. That's the array that I showed you. We'll call save list and clear form. Well, clear form just clears the form so we can add another movie. Save list saves the actual list inside our database. So here on save list, we're going to call localForage, set item, the key. We're going to take the JSON object, make it into a string, and then we'll go ahead and do the actual save action. And here we simply have a chain of other functions that we run. So we return the item that's been saved, localForage get item key. We then run Populate Master, and we handle any errors. The reason we run Populate Master is we've got to add the movie to the master. And that's basically it. So a fairly complex application with the help of localForage and jQuery Mobile. I hope you enjoyed making it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.